I'm Tabitha Rock.
And I'm Sam Davenport.
Born and bred in Melbourne, we live and breathe property, and we know the Melbourne market like the back of our hand. We've both been buying and selling real estate in Metro Melbourne for over 2 decades combined, and we've learned a few lessons along the way. Drum roll, baby, we are back.
Season 3 coming at ya.
For your listening pleasure. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I hope people are getting a lot or a little or something. Key takeaways, 1%ers from this.
1%ers, the old spaghetti at the wall. If one strand sticks, it was worth your time.
Exactly. But to kick us into gear, and we mentioned this at the end of last season that we might talk about this, and we thought good idea just to get it out of the way, season 3, is buying pre-auction, because it's a tricky one to navigate for buyers.
Yeah, it's something that we do often for our clients when it's under the right circumstances, when it makes sense, when we feel like it's going to actually get the property at oftentimes a better price or just help us to secure it in general. But yeah, we use it as one of our sort of strong points in our bag of tricks in our buyer advocacy service. But for the standard buyer who's looking to buy their first property, or maybe they've bought once before under auction conditions and now they're in a situation where a property, they've got a call from the agent, the property's being sold pre-auction because someone else has submitted an offer. It is a difficult process to navigate because every single agent, certainly every agency, but oftentimes even individual agents within agencies will manage this process differently.
Yeah, and so it's not for the faint-hearted, and that's why a lot of buyers come to us and they've in their purchasing journey have got caught off guard because someone else has put in a pre-auction offer. They didn't have their ducks in a row. Now they're stressed and confused and they wanted to check out this one on Saturday before they made their final decision. And to be honest, that's like a big reason as to why we do like pre-auction offers is to catch other buyers off guard and hopefully they haven't got their ducks in a row so they're not ready to purchase and we've just eliminated competition by our sort of quick offer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can work really well, but a lot of times I walk through inspections and just hear buyers ask, will they take an offer prior to auction? And it's like, I don't think the average buyer really understands why they're asking that. They just think that they need to. And look, to be honest, everything's for sale at the right price. You've got to remember that. So the answer to that question is always going to be, well, depending on price. And in Metro Melbourne, if you offer pre-auction, it typically has to be above the top end of the range. But obviously it's critical to get your pricing right before you even think about doing pre-auction offers or engaging with any of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, before you start that entire process, you just want to quietly, as you say, get your ducks in a row, make sure you've got all the information you need to be able to either be in a position where you're submitting an offer pre-auction or to react appropriately if that has occurred with someone else on a property that you are interested in pursuing. So the first thing you want to be asking the agent and yourself is, do I have a copy of the contract of sale, or to the agent, is the contract ready? Because without a contract in place or without a contract in your hands, there is no point discussing or submitting an offer to an agent. You need to have a contract of sale and vendor statement ready and prepared to sign if the offer becomes formalised, because without submitting an offer on a contract of sale, it's a verbal offer. It's not a formal offer and it doesn't really mean anything.
It doesn't carry any weight because, I mean, the number of times buyers throw around numbers when they walk through properties, you know, as an agent, they take them sort of as a grain of salt. As a grain of salt, yes.
With a grain of salt?
With a grain of salt.
Yeah, they take them with a grain of salt.
Not as. Anyway, I'm not good with that sort of thing. But, and I think, and I chat to friends and family about this, they're like, oh gosh, it's halfway through the campaign and the contract's not ready. Like, what's happening there? And I'm like, yeah, that's a tactic. That is holding back the contract, in inverted commas, but they always say the solicitor hasn't got the contract ready. Mind you, when you're selling a house, it actually takes like 24 hours to get together a pretty tight contract. Like obviously some of the certificates and things take longer than 24 hours to get, but you can say, you know, we'll get them in the next 48 hours. So you can definitely have a contract within 24 hours.
Absolutely.
For a house, not an apartment with body corporate.
Yes, exactly. T's and C's apply.
Yeah. So if you're buying an apartment and they don't have the contract, well, that actually might be legit because those owners corp certificates take about 2 weeks unless you do fast turnaround.
Yeah, unless you do fast turnaround. But yeah.
But the contract is really important to formalize the offer. So if you don't have that, just don't even bother chatting price to the agent or anything. You've got to have the contract, review the contract, then submit your offer on a contract of sale.
I've got one at the moment where I think it's had its third weekend. The third weekend of open. So we're nearing towards auction day. It's actually next Thursday. So it's about a week away. It's a week away today. It's Thursday today. So we have been waiting on that contract to come through because we want to submit an offer because the property is a couple of $100,000 underquoted.
You mean conservatively quoted?
Conservatively
I think that's what we're
quoted.
using.
Well, just to give you the detail, it was offered off market last year for 3.2 and it's quoted up to $3,050,000. So just a couple of $100,000 underquoted.
Yeah.
But in doing that, you know, the house is looking so incredible on the market and it just seems like such good value to so many buyers. So they've had a huge volume of people through lots of second and third inspections. It's a big family home, so people are looking at it for their next 20-year property, really heavily considering it, doing long inspections, taking their time. And the agents, I know they have, because I, again, have very good relationships with the agents, they have the contract of sale in their possession. They're waiting on the vendor to sign the vendor's statement before they send it to me. That's been the story for the last almost 7 days. Like, just give it to me. I just need to get it checked anyway. I don't need the vendor to sign it. Like, technically you do, but they're just holding it back.
I know, it's so frustrating. And funnily enough, in other states, you have to, like I know in New South Wales, you have to have a contract of sale ready before you even can market the property. Like, why do we not have that in Victoria? Come on. Get your act together.
Exactly. So once you know you've got the contract, you know, there in your hands available, now you know you can make a technical formal offer. So now you want to ask that question to the vendor, to the agent like you mentioned before, but ask it with a few more details in place. So will the vendor accept a pre-auction offer and at what level? We ask that question just outright. You'll be surprised how often an agent will come back to you and say, yes, at this level.
Yeah. Or it has to be above the top end of the quote. Okay, understand that. So we'll, say $5,000 over the top end of the quote, buy it, trigger it to be on the market. Oh, no. Okay, then what will? Well, $50,000 over the top end.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to get an understanding of where the vendor's sitting and also what, their motivations are and we'll get into that.
Yeah, exactly. The point of asking that sort of question and getting a little bit of an understanding around that is also to work out where the vendor's head is at. So say, for example, there's lots of different types of vendors out there. So there's vendors who are finding the auction campaign horrendous to manage emotionally. They just don't want to deal with it. It's giving them anxiety, which is building day on day. The lead up is just too intense for them. And the concept of being able to cut that campaign short is really going to appeal to that type of vendor. So getting an understanding of that. Or you've also got other vendors who feel completely differently about it and maybe they're hoping for a little more than what the property's worth and they understand that going through the auction process with competition is the only way that they're going to get there. So maybe that vendor needs to see 2 to 3 weeks of inspection feedback so that they can be in the mental space to actually accept or make a decision on an offer that's presented to them.
Yeah, and potentially lower their expectations throughout that time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So getting that feedback through those opens, meaning perhaps they've got low numbers through, perhaps they've got low interest, perhaps they've got buyers who are just giving negative feedback, that is going to condition the vendor's expectations, chip away at their hopes and dreams.
That's awful.
But that vendor needed that process in order to be in a position to accept your offer. If you had have given them your offer on day one, they would have said, oh, well, great, we've got this now, we're going to get more.
Now their expectations are increased. And you'll hear agents say that sort of dialogue like, oh, the vendor wants their day in the sun, or, oh, if you give me an offer this early in the campaign, it's just going to raise the vendor's expectations, so you better to hold off until auction day.
Exactly.
And it's really up to you to try and work out whether that is the truth, or like just try and get some understanding around price and the vendor's motivations. But at the start, Sam mentioned that all agents and agencies in Victoria handle pre-auction offers very differently.
Yeah.
So the third question you need to be asking the agent is, how will they handle pre-auction offers? Because there's several different ways it can go down.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it just depends on the agency, depends on the agent, depends on the market at the time, depends on the vendor. It depends on the competition. So in asking the agent to clarify how they're going to handle a pre-auction offer, oftentimes you'll be met with I'm not sure, it depends. If we have one other interested party, we might run it like this. If we have multiple other interested parties, we might run it like that. And that is what you need to be prepared for in doing this process, is that you are losing a lot of the clarity and transparency of the process. So obviously bidding outside in the front of the property on the street is extremely transparent. You see who your competition is and they call it on the market at a certain price, you keep going. In the pre-auction setting, it's very different, and it can be a lot more stressful if you are not used to managing that process.
Yeah. And just ask, okay, so if I submit an offer, will you go back to all the other buyers and tell them my exact offer? Or will you just say that there has been an offer acceptable? Will anyone like to resubmit? Or will that agent disclose your offer, then take any competing parties to a boardroom auction? Like, there's so many different ways it can go down, but make sure you're really clear with the agent right from the start as to what that will be, because we've often not engaged with an agent who will do this sort of closed envelope negotiation bidding war or a back and forth scenario, because it's just not going to get the best result for our client.
Yeah.
Like, we would prefer to stand out the front of the property on auction day and intimidate other buyers.
Yeah, exactly.
Eyeball them.
It also, understanding how the agent plans to run the process is going to inform how you are going to run your process in submitting your offer. What we might submit as a starting offer in a situation whereby if we have competition, it's going to be run as a boardroom auction. That might look very different to a situation whereby we're going to have one opportunity to submit our offer, essentially our best and final. Those two offers are going to be super different. So us knowing exactly how the agent's going to run it, and also understanding in conjunction with that, who is the competition? How many people are they expecting to, compete? How many people have done second inspections? How many people have requested the contract? And then decipher your own understanding of how the campaign's going from that information.
Yeah, the interest level.
Yeah.
Yeah, super critical. Well, I've actually trying to buy a property pre-auction at the moment, quotes 1150 to 1250, submitted 1.3. That's probably, fair money for it. And the agent came back to us and said, oh no, 1325, we'll put it on the market. And I said, that's 75 grand over the top end of the quote? Absolutely not. And I'm not lowballing you. This isn't offering your quote range to screw up your quote or just at the top of your range. This is a fair offer. So either we get it done or we're walking away. And so he came back to me about 10 minutes later, said it was on the market and he's going back to other buyers currently. But, you can push back unless, that property will be sold exclusively to you at the 1325 mark, which he wasn't going to do. Like you did, I think we mentioned in a previous season about a Bayside deal you negotiated. That was the case. You gave them an offer only because they would exclusively deal with you.
Yeah.
So, it can just go down so many different ways. People just don't realize the complexity in closing real estate deals.
Yeah.
And the different ways it can happen.
That's what keeps it interesting.
I know. But the fourth question you need to ask the agent is, how do they want your offer submitted? Like, does it have to be formally on a contract of sale? A lot of agencies have a letter of offer submission form. So that can sometimes suffice, and that can sometimes be enough to be somewhat legally binding. We actually always submit offers on contracts of sale because there was one time that I put my initial offer on a contract and then not my increased offer. And then they had chatted to another buyer and got that buyer to submit exactly my offer and said that the verbal offer that I gave them wasn't on a contract, so it wasn't actually an offer. So safe to say we didn't buy that property based on principle. And found another better one. But if it's not on a contract, it's not formal, and they can put another buyer's offer on a contract, and then it's not your property to buy.
Yeah, and I mean that's the sort of situation where that's unusual for that to have occurred. Like
Really
often,
unusual.
often in our dealings with agents, they'll take our verbal offers as commitments, but we consistently uncover ways in which we tighten our processes.
It's not only our processes. I mean, as you've said, I've negotiated thousands of deals and done verbal after that first initial in writing. I would never start negotiating off the back with a not written offer, and we were just going over the phone because it was a private sale. And anyway, it was very interesting, but it's just a reminder, just keep submitting in writing on a contract, even when you're doing $1,000 increments. You've got to.
Yeah, you just don't know at which point in the process you're going to get tripped up. So it's like just making sure you've got all your ducks in a row, which brings us to point number 5, which is understanding that even though you're not technically buying at auction or potentially not even under auction conditions, because perhaps it's more than the 3-day either side of the advertised auction date, so you've technically still got a cooling off period. If you submit an offer on an auction property that's outside of that 3 days prior or post advertised auction date, you still want to be submitting an unconditional offer. So you really do need to make sure you've got your finance in place, so you're not submitting your offer subject to finance, and that you've completed your due diligence. If that includes a building inspection, do that. Don't do your offer subject to building inspection. You've got to think about it from the vendor's perspective. They've paid to get their property up online on the market. They're putting it to market. They're expecting and have had likely buyers through who some may be interested, some may not be. You're wanting to take away their opportunity of selling the property under competition at auction unconditionally. You're wanting to eliminate that process for them. So do it fairly, be prepared, submit an unconditional offer, get yourself in a position where you're serious, you're ready, and that shows good faith, but it also helps the vendor make the decision to say yes because you've got less contingencies in place.
Yeah. And also on that, make sure you're asking what the settlement preferences of the vendor are. Like, if they want 120-day settlement and you're giving them a pre-auction offer on 30 days, they might reject it based on that, and it will have nothing to do with price. So really get an understanding of the vendor's settlement preferences. That comes hand in hand with their motivations, in all honesty.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the biggest motivating factor is always going to be the price point. Understanding the value of the property, which is our final point in submitting offers pre-auction, is you really need to get inside the vendor's head about what they think their property might achieve. What do they think their property's worth based on recent sales, based on comparable properties that have sold in their area that we assume they're aware of. They would have seen. If there's a similar property that sold in their street 3 months prior, you don't think that vendor is completely across that. They will have walked through that house. They will be picking it apart in comparison to theirs. And if that got 3.5 and it's a similar comparable property to theirs, there's no point submitting a 3.3 offer just because the agent's quote range is 3.25 to 3.35.
Yeah.
We've got to understand that the value of that property is more likely sitting in line with the other one unless something drastic has happened in the market in the last 3 months.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm actually trying to buy another property pre-auction for clients. The quote range is 8 to 880. There's another property for sale in the street. Yes, it's a little bit more renovated for $1,050,000 to 1,150. And so, our pre-auction offer is going to be $1 million or so. So that is feels like excessively over the quote range, but we have done our research around the value and it's probably worth a lot more than that. Luckily, this episode will air when this property is done and dusted, so you won't know what I'm talking about.
Once the property is purchased.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is a ballsy move to submit a pre-auction offer above the top end of a quote range because a lot of buyers would prefer to be standing amongst competing interest and see social proof that this buyer also feels it's worth what I feel it's worth, and so does this one. And so by having an advocate working with you, where that social proof for you, you know, giving you all of the information you need to feel comfortable at the price point that we're proving to you is correct.
Yeah.
And the same price at which the banks will value it, the same price at which the agents all went in and valued it.
Yeah.
And
Because
then
with pre-auction offers, you have to get comfortable with the idea that you might submit that offer, it might be accepted, and you've got no other person competing against you after you submit your offer. And so how will that sit with you the next day? Will you think you've overpaid potentially? So you've got to run through all these scenarios. Okay, I might actually get competition. What does it look like if I get one other person competing? What does it look like if the vendor doesn't even accept my offer pre-auction? Will I walk away from the property? Will I increase my offer? Like, you've got to think about all these different scenarios. There's a lot. It's better to get an expert.
Obviously better to get an expert. Like, go and do it. I'm like proud of you. Good luck to you. But it's too much. It's too much. I'm not going to pull out my own tooth, okay? I'm not doing it. I'm going to the dentist to pull out my tooth.
Oh, my God. I'm not doing my accounting.
I'm not doing my accounting. I don't do my gardening. I'm a real outsourcer.
Yeah, we love that.
My time is better spent buying property pre-auction, okay? Because that's
Amen,
what I
sister.
do.
Amen. If it's the right decision for the property.
Exactly.
We've certainly just got, anyway, it's not part of the blog, but part of the bloody episode, but we've certainly just gone to auction on a lot of properties because we think we're going to get a better deal on auction day.
100%.
So it's not, pre-auction offers are not always the best way to go about things.
No.
But if it is an option and you do want to do it, listen to this app.
It's mostly only suitable if you've got a property that's underquoted and there's strong competition building through the campaign and you need to cut that short, plus you're going to be able to submit a perceived strong offer in relation to the quote. If you've got a vendor whose expectations are too high and there's very little interest, I am going to make that vendor bleed for 6 weeks and then I'll negotiate with them.
100%.
You know, there's no point engaging with that vendor on week 2 of their campaign. No, they're high in the sky.
In the sky. We don't want that.
Oh, F, marry, kill?
Yeah, are we up to that part of our little potty?
We are.
What
we
do
love
we have this week?
We've got.
This one's a good one for the people, I think.
A good one for the people?
Yeah, really think about this for yourselves.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you're buying an apartment. What are you buying? Are you buying something brand new?
Okay, for all the cladding problems.
Well, that's like 10-year-old apartments that have got the cladding.
Yeah, it's not brand new. I guess.
Brand new.
Okay.
Like as in, like it's just been completed. It's not off the plan, but it's brand new. Or older style apartment, but no outdoor area, which we see a lot in like deco apartments in Elwood, St Kilda East area, no outdoor area. Or old, nice little balcony, nice outdoor area, beautiful little apartment, but no off-street car park at all.
Okay. I think I'm going to go something different to what you would expect I'll say on this.
Okay.
But I'm probably marrying new. I know. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I think brand new, they went through a really bad period there of building them like shoeboxes with really poor quality.
Yeah.
But there's some really beautiful new apartments coming out these days that are expansive, do have good natural light. You know, they're well proportioned. Yeah. So I think I'm strangely marrying that because let me tell you, I am killing off that old with no outdoor area because I'll just feel like I'm in a cell and no one wants that for their life.
No.
So that leaves me to effing old but no car park because, girl, I'm always going to have a car and it always needs somewhere to live.
Yeah.
So I want a car park. I want to be able to wash my car and it to go in my nice little car park.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to marry old but no car park. because
You're bicycling to work, aren't you?
Yes.
Bicycling.
Cycling?
Cycling.
You know what I'm going to get is a little bike that goes on the back of my bike. So May rides on the back of mine.
Oh, that's cute.
So I'll marry old but no car park because I'm getting an on-street permit in that apartment anyway. So we're all good.
It's not a main road with a clear way
No,
zone.
it's a little cul-de-sac with only permit parking in the street. I know exactly which apartment I'm thinking of. I'm definitely killing old but no outdoor because it's same. It's a sell. I can't deal. And I'll F new because you know what I want is their amenities.
Yes.
I want to get in amongst that rooftop barbecue area.
Yes.
I want to swim in the pool. I want to use the gym. I'll see you there.
Okay. Yeah. See you there.
That's it.